Motion 3 is in the name of Councillor Hagin Meade. Councillor Hagin Meade will propose. Can I get a seconder, please? Seconded by Councillor Bailey.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I've brought forward this motion to highlight the fate of 5,000 hares in Ireland every year. Hares are a protected species under Irish law, but under the Animal Welfare Act, hares are protected unless it is for hare coursing. Hares have been in decline since 1900 throughout Ireland, and they can live for 9 years, but it's estimated that 50% of the adults die every year. And young hares have a death rate of 75%. There are an average of only 5 hares per kilometre in Ireland, and they're an endangered species. Queen's University have done research in 2011 noting that there are 2 major threats to hares. One of them is coursing and the other is habitat loss. So why is hare coursing exempt from these protections? During hare coursing, the fragile solitary creatures are herded and netted, they're kept in cramped conditions, and then they're put in the coursing field where the muzzled dogs chase them every day for a number of weeks. And if they survive, they're released back into the wild until perhaps the next time. The object of haring is that the dog turns the hare, changing its direction. The hare doesn't know that the dogs are muzzled and cannot maul them, but even so, the hares can be trampled, their bones can be broken, dogs have claws, and they're large and heavy in comparison to those hares. The law currently states that hares can only be subjected to this ordeal once a day, and not if they're sick or pregnant. But why should any wild animal have to repeatedly run for their lives in an enclosed space with dogs trained to catch them for entertainment value? The hares can be injured and stressed to the point of dying. The statistics show that there are hares that need to be euthanized because of their injuries, and also the hares that are unaccounted for, and a small percentage of them die even before they reach that coursing field. The 5 freedoms of animal welfare which apply in Ireland since 2016 include the freedoms from fear and distress by ensuring conditions and treatment that avoids mental suffering. So why is coursing still legal here? Why are the 78 clubs in the Republic and over 80 meets allowed every year? Hare coursing is banned across the UK, banned in 2004, and new tougher laws in 2022 mean hare coursing carries potentially a 6-month prison sentence. It's been made illegal in most European countries and Australia, so Ireland is really the outlier as one of the few countries, with Spain and parts of the USA and Russia, that have yet to ban the sport. In Ireland, the ISPCA have called for a ban on hare coursing for ethical reasons, as have many animal rights organisations and others. A 2019 Red C poll found 77% of respondents want hare coursing to be banned. Only 9% supported hare coursing. In government, a committee of the Department of Agriculture, ICC, Parks and Wildlife meet once a year to consider the future of hare coursing in Ireland. So this is where our council will send a letter to encourage the legality of the practice to be reconsidered. In our 21st century society, there's no place for animal cruelty, no place for protection, with exceptions, instilling fear into creatures that would otherwise live a peaceful life. I encourage you to support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hagin Meade, and I'm delighted that it's gotten to the floor because it'll stop the deluge of emails that we're getting. So I'll be able to find an email in my inbox maybe next month, hopefully. Councillor McManus, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to give a different perspective, the focus of regulated hare coursing is not to capture the hare, but rather turn the hare by greyhounds that are muzzled. Before any field racing takes place, the Irish hares are netted in the wild, they're tagged for tracking purposes, and they're inoculated by coursing clubs, which helps promote their health and well-being. A key focus of coursing clubs is the preservation and care of the Irish hare. When coursing is finished, hares are released back into the wild in a different part of the country, which is good to ensure breeding and health in general of the hare population. In the most recent hare coursing season, 99.51% of hares were returned to the countryside. The real risk to the Irish hare is from illegal, unregulated coursing, whereby gangs with unmuzzled, lurcher-type dogs chase, poach and kill the Irish hare. This is rightly illegal and more action is needed. If regulated hare coursing is banned, the important work of coursing clubs to preserve the Irish hare will end, and this directly puts the hare population in jeopardy. And we have experience of this from the UK. In 2005, the British government banned hare coursing. The coursing clubs ended their hare preservation efforts, and as a direct consequence, the population of hares collapsed dramatically. So I ask, should we follow the British policy, which has caused a major, severe collapse in the population of wild hares? The context of this motion is important. Unfortunately, in recent years, we've seen a targeted attempt by animal rights extremists that want to ban all sports that involve animals. We see protests outside Dublin Zoo because zoos are apparently cruel. We see protests and the targeting of horse racing because horse racing is apparently cruel. Farming of animals is cruel, and I ask us members, where will it stop? Our focus should be on combating illegal hare coursing, which unfortunately continues with no action by the Green Party and government, despite commitments made in the programme for government. I have an amendment that I've sent into the meeting's admin, which I think we as active members should strongly consider, that our focus should be on combating illegal hare coursing and not follow the British example of banning regulated hare coursing, which has led to an extraordinary collapse in the population of wild hares in the UK. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Councillor McManus. Councillor Timmons, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Well done, Councillor Hagin Meade, in putting down the motion. I fully support it. As you mentioned there, and you put it better, you said a lot of the stuff I was going to say. Ireland is one of the last EU countries to allow this. Britain, where it originated, have banned it. I believe overall it's a barbaric, cruel, inhumane, and I wouldn't call it a sport or a leisure activity. It's pure animal cruelty. I don't support it in any way, and I support the motion. So well done in putting this down. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Timmons. Councillor Duff, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm listening to the contribution. I thank Councillor Meade for bringing this forward. Like yourself, I mean, okay, we get the emails. I'd like to be able to go home and face my younger daughter, who's an activist, an anti-blood sport activist. But I'm just wondering about the levels of cruelty. What's an acceptable level of cruelty? Can we just be a little bit cruel? Or maybe a medium bit cruel? Or we ban this because it's outright cruel? How do we define in a creature, one of, a nature's creature, how do we define what's cruel of how we treat that? I mean, cruelty to me is me terrorising you, and maybe Councillor McManus, you come over the park with me and I let the dog off the leash after you, and we'll see what way your emotions go and your stress levels go. I mean, you have to look at this. This is outrageous in the 21st century that this is sport. Horse racing still survives today, despite, I believe, the awful cruelty of jumps. I went to Leopardstown one Stevens's Day, never go back. I think 10 horses died in that afternoon, and that to me was just absolutely appalling. But horse racing survives because they stopped the excessive use of the whip. It was cruel. They still hit the horses, but it's still cruel. But is that the way we work with hares? If so many hares don't die during this process, being chased by a muzzled greyhound that moves at rocket speed? They don't need that training. They don't need it at all, whether it's illegal or whether you ban the illegal element of it or whether you ban the legal element of it. The legal element of it should not be in existence in this day and age. It's outrageous that an industry depends upon taking creatures out of their natural habitat, caring for them, the same way as we take budgies and canaries and we put them into cages. We care for them, we give them lovely names, we give them a cuttlefish, we love them, but we cage them. That's not right either. So I think that unless we can define and unless we can figure out what level of cruelty is acceptable in our society, Mayor, I fully and 100% support Councillor Meade. You were right to bring it forward, and I'm happy to support you. And I know the family will be watching this, and I can walk home with my head held high that I will be voting to support your motion. Thank you very much indeed, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Duff. I'm just going to refer to the proposed amendment by Councillor McManus. It fundamentally changes the motion, so it's not an amendment to the motion. It's a fundamental change, so it's out of order. So I'll be ruling that out of order. Councillor O'Connell, please.
Mayor, I will be very brief because I won't try to be as eloquent as the Councillor Duff. I think he has put a lot of things in perspective there. I think we should support this motion. In this day and age, there is no excuse for calling this a sport. It's not a sport. Therefore, I fully support the motion, and I would hope it will get close to 100% support of the people in and out of the chamber. Míle maith agat.
Thank you, Councillor O'Connell. Deputy Mayor, please.
Thanks, Mayor. Well, first of all, the bill that's referenced in the motion has been put forward by Paul Murphy TD, and I was just wondering why is the Green Party telling us to support or asking for our support for a bill by an opposition TD and not one from their own government party, the Green Party. So that's one question I would have. Like, if it was that important to the Green Party, then why didn't they make it a condition of going into government and put it into the programme for government? Now, secondly, the mention about emails that we've received. I mean, the emails we've received are very much in one direction. You know, they're obviously asking us to support this motion. Now, that's the situation because we are in Dublin. If we were outside of Dublin, in any council outside of Dublin, it would be different, and we would be getting people putting arguments on the other side. And any time, like when the Green Party put a similar motion, for example, in Cork, and it was defeated because there was a different outlook than there would be obviously in a Dublin council. And I think we have to, you know, we're coming at it a different perspective. How many of us will see a hare or have any interaction with hares or do anything in relation to their conservation outside of this motion? Whereas, you know, there are people, you know, who are working, like we did get a paper, I presume everybody else got it, I got it, it was from the Hare Coursing Society, and you know, they've made kind of fairly balanced arguments about why we should oppose this motion. And one of the things is, they make the point that they are involved in conservation, and one of the things they say in support of that is that Quercus, which is in Belfast, in the University of Belfast, or in Queen's University of Belfast, is basically doing work with them in terms of you know, auditing they did a study about 10 years ago where they found that 18 times more hares were in the places where you have coursing clubs compared to the wider countryside. And they're doing work on conservation with the Irish Coursing Society. So those people are actually dealing with hares, they're working to do with stuff to do with coursing. We're doing nothing except passing a motion about an opposition TD's bill that will probably go nowhere.
Okay.
And for that reason I'm voting against it.
Thank you. Councillor Dunn, please.
Sorry, I didn't think I'd be able to come. Did I put my hand up to talk?
Sorry, Councillor Donaghy. Do you know what, I'm going to ban anybody with the same initials. That's happened to me twice today. Councillor Donaghy, please.
Thanks very much, Mayor, with apologies to Councillor Dunn, who in fairness was here first of these initials. I also apologise for the poor sound quality. But just picking up on some of the comments made by the Deputy Mayor, many of us may be representing constituencies in Dublin, but we bring experience from having lived in quote-unquote rural Ireland, and the same poll results recur again and again and again there. It is not representative of rural Ireland to say that this is something that is prized and enjoyed by anything other than a very small minority of people. I think Councillor McManus's contribution was very revealing in that it discussed the fact that hare conservation only seems to be considered worthwhile by coursing clubs, conditional on the ability to then torment those creatures and then release them somewhere else. I would ask, why can't we do hare conservation without having them chased by dogs for sport? I fully support this motion, irrespective of who is putting it forward in Dáil Éireann. I think it's very reductive to suggest that we should only support things put forward by our own parties rather than work collaboratively. I thank Councillor Hagin for bringing it forward, and really I can't really expand on what Councillor Duff said when he supported it so eloquently. So I'll be supporting this motion. I would urge other members to do the same. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Donaghy, and I apologise for the initials mix-up. Councillor Bailey, please.
See, like a rabbit in the headlights. Sorry. Sorry. Okay, so I wish to support this motion. I think it's an important one, something that we've been raising quite a lot of the time, as I'm sure Councillor McManus is aware. Just to mention the arguments put forward by Councillor McManus in terms of the fact that hare coursing is the thing that is keeping hare populations going. It sort of failed to sort of add in the other aspects to that. It's quite a multifaceted type of an issue. So yes, that might be true in some respect or some regard, but that's of course on the benefit that they get to use these hares in very, very cruel ways. So that's just not sustainable, but also that the loss of habitat is actually a much more likely, and has been shown, demonstrated quite a lot, to be one of the main reasons why the populations have been falling so increasingly. So hares, I grew up in the countryside, so I see hares all the time where I'm from, and the leverets, the babies that they have, they're born into very sort of low-lying grasslands, and they require habitats, specific kinds of habitats, to be able to survive and flourish. Those habitats have been lost time and time again. We're seeing different types of agriculture kind of come in terms of like crop monoculture, where there needs to be, as Councillor somebody said it, I can't remember who it was talking about conservation. Like, you need to have conservation as part of this. So I mean, I support this motion, and I support publicly funding conservation funding that would be needed to given to our farmers to be able to help them support leaving fields to grow, to cutting them at certain times of the year. There's work involved in trying to conserve these particular animals. And I mean, like, we're seeing not just hares, we're seeing a lot of mammals. A lot of mammals have been really impacted over the last number of years as a result of this. So look, absolutely fully supported.
Time, please. Thank you. Just 1 second, Councillor McManus. It's past 7 o'clock, so I have 6 speakers left to come in. Can I, with your permission, extend standing orders by 10 to 12 minutes to deal with the end of this motion, please? Thank you. Councillor McManus, your hand raised. I have other 6 speakers to come in before you. Okay. Okay, where am I? Sorry, 1 second.
Yeah, point of order, Mayor.
Yeah, I actually, my brain is gone, but because we've, like, the motion is in full flow, we can't take another amendment. So, oh my God, like, honestly, no, actually, just no. Councillor Sinclair. Sorry? Your mic isn't on, so nobody can hear you. So if you want to make a contribution, turn on your mic. If not, you can wait till all of the other speakers have spoken, because you've already spoken for 2 minutes. I've got 6 more speakers that want to come in on this, so I'm going to allow them to speak first, and then I will go back to why your motion is out of order, and I'll tell you. Or, sorry, why your amendment is out of order again, and I'll tell you that. Councillor Sinclair, please. Thank you.
So yeah, I'm going to be speaking in favour of this motion. While this debate has been going on, I've been thinking, I used to work in Blanchardstown Corporate Park about 18 years ago, and we used to see hares there regularly, and they were clumsy and graceful at the same time. I really enjoyed watching them go around, and given the level of development out in that direction in the last 18 years, it's just made me sad thinking today that they might be gone. But that's a tangent. I read the description from the lobbyists in favour of this, the one that's been repeated by Councillor McManus here, to a family member of mine that doesn't spend too much time worrying about animal welfare. Like, absolutely by no means an eco-extremist, this person, indifferent to the plight of living creatures. And the response was that is insane, that is cruel. How could anybody enjoy that? There must be something wrong with them. So if that's the reaction you're getting from somebody that's indifferent, I think it speaks for itself. This is enjoyment of a helpless creature's distress. When you tear everything away, you're enjoying a creature being in distress. It needs to be banned, and to echo what others have said, there's absolutely no reason that conservation efforts would have to end as a result. Gormaghi.
Thank you, Councillor Sinclair. Councillor Kearns, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I have absolutely no hesitation in supporting this motion. I agree entirely. Conservation, I mean, it's like a guise for it to actually terrorise the creatures afterwards. I mean, I too got all the emails, and to be honest, like, I read them. I read most of them anyway. But it makes no difference. It's just wrong. No matter what any email comes from, I don't need anyone to tell me it's right or wrong. And my colleague, I have to say, I don't agree. Like, a good bill is a good bill, irrespective of who it comes from, and I think it ought to be supported, and I would support it. I just want to say, like, you mentioned the protests at the zoo, Councillor McManus. Maybe we ought to have line coursing and check out how that works out for the greyhounds.
Thank you, Councillor Kearns. Councillor Johansson, please.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm very happy to support this motion. I only realised during this debate that it was my party colleague that had brought forward the bill. I had completely forgot about that, so thank you for the reminder. But yeah, I mean, just in terms of this debate, I mean, about 10, 15 years ago, people would go to the circus and watch live animals that were treated extremely cruelly. And now we don't do that anymore, and that was made illegal precisely because it was cruel. But 10, 15 years ago, I think most of us wouldn't even really have thought of it. So I think these things always change, and people are thinking about these issues in a different way, I feel, than we did in the past. And there's been a lot more recognition about animal rights over the past few years. So I'm very happy to support this. And if those people who are saying that they're doing conservation work, if they want to do that, they should do it without any strings attached in terms of the cruelty that they want to continue to cause to hares. So, thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Johansson. Councillor McMahon, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, there are a few points I'd like to make. Some have been mentioned already with regards to this motion, some not. Coursing is supervised by the National Parks and Wildlife Service and is monitored by the Department of Agriculture, which keeps the clubs up to stringent conditions. All coursing clubs operate under licence, which is reviewed annually. The Irish Hare has scored best in Ireland with regard to conservation and population, and this is down to hare coursing. There's a huge conservation effort conducted by coursing clubs, and it's proved very beneficial to the hare population. Since hare coursing was banned in the UK, there has been a dramatic increase in hare poaching and a significant reduction in the population of hares. I am sure an unintended consequence of banning hare coursing. I'm sure if it was possible to survey the hare population in the UK, I think they'd vote for bringing back hare coursing as opposed to illegal hunting, which is an unintended consequence of banning hare coursing. Coursing clubs are in balance a positive to the hare population and conservation of same. I'd be voting against this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McMahon. Councillor King, please.
Thanks very much, Mayor. And firstly, just to commend Councillor Hagin Meade on a very well put together contribution, and in time as well, so fair play to you. It was very informative and well put together, and I support your right to support somebody else's bill, and invite you to support any Sinn Féin bills going forward if you so wish so. My mind goes back to the first time I seen a hare in real life. It's many moons ago, right outside the window of a hotel in the beautiful home county of Councillor O'Connell in County Clare. And I remember being so impressed by the size of it, the stature of it. Although it's not as big as like our deer or things like that, it's such a majestic animal, and it's very much related to our country, there needs to be protections, and Councillor McManus' amendment, if that was a motion on its own, I would support that. Like setting up a wildlife protection agency, 100%. That should be done. But this is a different issue, and I fully support everything that Councillor Duff said. It was on the button. There's no other way of putting it. It's as simple as that, and many others made very good points. I'm a member of a party whose policies are made up each year at an Ardèche through motions put to the floor by the general membership. This is an item that comes up every single year at Ardèche, and unfortunately the last Ardèche, when it was voted on, the way it was decided upon puts us in a position that we can't support the motion today. I despise abstaining on motions, and I never do it, but I do not want to vote against your motion, Councillor Hagin Meade. But because of my party's policy on it, I'll have to abstain. But I fully support what you're trying to achieve here.
Time, please, Councillor King.
That's as diplomatic as I can put it. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Gogarty, please.
Thanks, Mayor. I've noted some of the comments about the nobility of the Irish hare, and it truly is a graceful, noble animal. But even if it was as ugly as Sinn, it's still wrong. Now, I might be one of those cranks because I'm vegan. I don't eat animals or wear them or do anything. But I'd have a bit of respect for someone if they caught a hare or a rabbit, skinned it, cooked it, and said that was their dinner. They needed the food to survive. But to be clear, this for coursing is purely for human pleasure, nothing else. Pure human pleasure on the back of cruelty to an animal. It's not just a case of having a muzzled greyhound chase a hare for 100 yards. They have to trap that hare. They have to keep that hare in a crate for up to a month at a time. And it is absolutely horrendous. Now, Councillor Tuffy has given the legalistic and I suppose politically charged arguments that there's two sides to the story, and why would the Green Party be raising this? I do remember as a Green TD in 2006, I called for a complete ban on hare coursing, and it's still the case that a large proportion of sports funding goes to the dog and horse racing industries, which just shows we've a long way to come. But as a society, if a referendum was held tomorrow, it's estimated that at least 2/3 of people would support a ban on hare coursing. That's 2/3 of people around the length and breadth of this country. Now, Councillor Tuffy wouldn't like it if she was out walking her dog and a couple of people from around her area decided, you know what, we'll have a bet to see which one of us can make the dog scream the loudest by kicking it. That's the same type of thing. It's just another way, because we personalise our own pets, but we don't have much compassion for innocent creatures that we're not even trying to kill to survive to eat them. It's inhumane. We live in a modern society and it should have been long gone. The arguments being put in favour of maintaining this is just absolute podswallop. Conservation my foot. I wholeheartedly support the motion from my former Green colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gogarty. Councillor O'Hara.
Thank you, Mayor. I've put in an amendment.
I see it. Thank you very much. Okay. And I see the first amendment from Councillor McManus, which is out of order. I see the second one from Councillor McManus, which is also out of order, and I'm going to tell you why. And the third one from yourself, which is exactly the same as the second one put in by Councillor McManus, which is also out of order. And the reason for that is that the fundamental component of this motion is the supporting of the Animal Health and Welfare Ban on Hare Coursing Bill 2020. The establishment of a wildlife crime unit is a direct negative to that. It is not an amendment to the motion, it is actually fundamental change to the motion. That's why your motion is out of order. It's not that I don't like you very much and we'll take it from Councillor O'Hara. It's out of order if it's out of order. Okay? So here, that's exactly right. So the amendments are both out of order as per standing orders. Okay? That's where we're at with this. It's not for any other reason, Councillor McManus.
I fully disagree, Mayor, but I respect that. I disagree with you, but thank you. It's here in standing orders, and that's what I'm fine. David, I purport myself to be fairly fair with regard to anything that comes to this floor, and I've always dealt with everything in exactly the same way. So by getting Councillor O'Hara to send it in, you're challenging whether or not I like you very much or not. That's not the way this is. So we're back to Councillor Hagin Meade for a response on her motion, and then we'll move on to a vote. Thank you. Very much. Councillor Hagin Meade.
Thank you very much. I was delighted to get the motion heard today, and thank you very much for all your contributions and for having this debate today. I'm delighted with so much support, and thank you very much for so many eloquent speakers who answered so many of the questions and reports that were mentioned. I would just like to draw attention to the rural-urban divide, and I just would like to state that I think our council have a right to speak as a group and to represent our residents and to say what we think about the treatment and protection of animals in Ireland, regardless of whether there are many hares in the area or not. And regarding that, you know, different topographies, different landscapes mean that there may or may not be different numbers of hares in different locations. The result of this motion, if it's passed, will be to send a letter to the department, and this is up for review every year. So they'll have noticed that there's plenty of things that we can do, that we can support this and just raise our voice to the issue. So I do urge you to support this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Members, is the motion agreed?
Not agreed. Not agreed.
Okay, you need 2 more people to jump on board with you, Councillor McManus. See if you get 2 people to like you. No, okay, we're going to a roll call vote. Members online, if you would put on your mics and cameras, please. We're going to have a roll call vote on Councillor Hagin Meade's motion. Councillor Praparadin, Councillor O'Hara and Councillor McManus. Okay, mics and cameras, please. Thank you.
Councillor Bailey?
In favour.
Councillor Carey?
Against.
Councillor Casserly? Councillor Collins?
In favour.
Councillor Costello?
In favour.
Councillor Donaghy?
In favour.
Councillor Duff?
In favour.
Councillor Dunn?
In favour.
Councillor Edge? Councillor Egan? Councillor Gilligan? Councillor Gogarty?
In favour.
Councillor Hagin Meade?
In favour.
Councillor Hayes? Councillor Holohan? Councillor Johansson?
In favour.
Councillor Kearns?
In favour.
Councillor King?
Abstain.
Councillor Lawler? Councillor Lynch?
In favour.
Councillor Mahon? Councillor McCrave?
In favour.
Councillor McMahon? Councillor McMahon?
Against.
Councillor McManus?
Against.
Councillor Moynihan? Councillor Murphy?
In favour.
Councillor O'Brady?
Abstain.
Councillor O'Brien? Councillor O'Brien? Councillor O'Connell?
In favour.
Councillor O'Connor?
For.
Councillor O'Hara?
Against.
Councillor O'Toole? Councillor Perry-Patton?
Against.
Councillor Richardson? Councillor Sinclair?
In favour.
Councillor Timmons?
For.
Councillor Tuffy?
Against.
Councillor Whelan? Thank you.
The outcome of motion 3 in the name of Councillor Hagin Meade, 17 for, 6 against, 2 abstentions, the motion passes. Members, thank you for your patience.